Dear students, hope all of you are doing well. Today we will be going to discuss second semester BA program with Political Science as major discipline paper, which is newly introduced, called India's Foreign Policy. This course introduces India's foreign policy to students by first explaining its key determining principles and objectives. Now, the question arises that, what is foreign policy? Foreign policy is the sum total of principles, interests and objectives which a state formulates in conducting its relations with other states. The learner will learn about the central issues and developments pertaining to India's foreign policy at the bilateral, regional and global levels. The course also imparts an understanding of India's evolving relations with the superpowers during the Cold War and post-Cold War period, with a special focus on India's neighbourhood diplomacy, India's bargaining strategies and positioning in international climate change negotiations, and international economic governance will be taught to help the students understand changing positions and developments of India's role in the global domain since independence. This facilitates an understanding about the shift in India's identity from being a post-colonial state to an emerging power in the contemporary multipolar world. Learning outcomes: basic knowledge of the determinants, principles and key drivers of India's foreign policy. Understanding the original rationale of India's non-alignment policy and its relevance in the contemporary context as to how India exercises strategic autonomy in foreign policy choices. An insight about India's position in changing global power equations, particularly its bilateral ties with powerful nations like the US and Russia, along with India's largest neighbor, China. Understanding of India's neighbourhood diplomacy in South Asia with regard to important challenges pertaining to border disputes, migration and refugees. Grasp of India's negotiation strategies in dealing with global challenges in the realm of trade and environmental governance. Syllabus of India's foreign policy. Unit 1. India's foreign policy, meaning, determinants and evolution. A. Domestic and international determinants of India's foreign policy. B. Objectives and principles. C. Non-alignment and beyond, concepts, policy and relevance. Unit 2. Changing relations with the global powers from Cold War to the post-Cold War era. India and USA. India and Russia. India and China. India and EU. Unit 3. India and the neighbourhood, issues and challenges. Border disputes. Migration and refugee issues. Cross-border terrorism. Unit 5. India in the contemporary multipolar world. India's engagements in multilateral forums, negotiations on trade and climate change. India as a global power, prospects and challenges. It will be interesting to study the paper. Bye bye, Tata. Do subscribe.